Please take a few moments to think about our most respected teacher, the Buddha, who has taught us so many teachings that are still applicable for today's society, that help us change our life continuously. It's about 2,600 years ago, where after spending 6 years of very strict training, the Buddha, at that time, he was still Siddhartha Gautama, the prince. He realized that there was not the correct way. The ascetic life was not actually the correct way of attaining enlightenment. So he decided that he wanted to go to the middle path of taking in food accordingly. And by sitting under the Bodhi tree for, according to the sutra, for 49 days, at the end, he finally realized the root problem of all human suffering. And he also succeeded in conquering his own mind. So this is exactly the method that the Buddha has realized, and he wanted to share with everyone. We got to thank the Buddha for his kindness and his skillfulness in teaching all he has realized. Okay, now please come back. So the reason of showing, let me just introduce myself first. A very good evening to everyone. My name is You Min. Yeah, You Min, yeah, okay. Tonight, I'm very glad because I got invited by the Buddha Path, and we're going to share some talks on Yogācāra. I realized that we have some friends tonight from Singapore, from Malaysia, and also very recently, some of my good friends from Hong Kong. I'm also sure there are friends from Taiwan as well. Very welcome to all of you. The reason I show the picture of the Buddha is it's about thinking about the way the Buddha got enlightened and how he wanted to share his experience to other people. So this is the same thinking that what we call the Yogācārin. Yogācārin are those who practice meditation or who practice the changing of how to transform the mind in a very diligent way since the Buddha's time. So this is exactly what they were thinking about, how to expound and how to explain the process of from being ordinary person like us, going through all the sufferings that we create for ourselves, and then going to step by step, transforming our mind until at the end, these problems and become enlightened. So this is exactly the same thought that all the great teachers in the past, from India, and then to Tibet, to China, and after that to Japan, to Korea. So we call these practitioners Yogācārin. And the reason we will know, we're going to explain what is Yogācārin in the next session. So this is why we're going to talk about the Yogācāra practice in these 4 sessions. Right? So the Buddha was actually telling us, yes, the problem that we faced 2,600 years ago, there's almost the same here. If not, we are facing more complicated problems. Like, for example, I went to the bookstore just a few days ago, and this is what I saw. This is a popular bookstore. You know that this is a 修养励志. This is for us, in English, it's called spiritual practice, I think. Something like that, yeah? So, or self improvement. Look at the titles, you know what are we facing today in today's society. Like, okay, if you can see clear enough, we have books on anxiety. The whole rack is about anxiety. I was quite shocked to see that book being put on top of the shelf in the most significant spot in the bookshelf. This shows how, what kind of emotional need that we all require at this time after the pandemic. That's why this is the time that we should learn how to deal with our emotions, our problems, and also how to be more positive and encouraging. Right, and the Buddha also told us that actually the root problem is because we have delusional discrimination. So what are delusional discrimination? Like in personal level, right? We always say that we always have two extreme views. In personal level, we always think, oh, I'm either beautiful or I'm ugly. So if I'm not beautiful, then I'm ugly. So this is a message that was given by the advertisement. In career, we are either successful or we fail. Emotionally, we either love the person, we hate the person. Physical and mental health, like either we are either being healthy or we are ill for some time. And in terms of behavior, we always judge people either doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So this in Buddhism we call it discrimination, 希望分别. And this kind of discrimination actually goes to an extreme. And the Buddha taught us that, yeah, it's neither right or wrong. In most cases, we just have to find the middle path of it. So in the societal level, it's the same. We either think of ourselves, we have a high or low academic qualifications. If we don't have a degree, or we don't have even nowadays we require at least a master degree, then we feel a little bit lower than other people, right? And we always identify ourselves as a male or a female, and we act according to what are expected of us. So how about people who find that they are in between, who are bisexual? These are all the social problems that we are facing today. And I believe that Buddhism have to answer all kinds of questions in today's society. Economically, we have poverty or wealth, races. Either we have we are getting more and more used to us and them according to race. And even standpoints, we love to be people who agree with us, and we don't like to be around with people who are disagreeing with us. So this called a discrimination is exactly what the Buddha has been teaching us for more than 2,000 years. He say that in order to break our habitual thinking, we have to try ourselves to see the extreme discrimination that we have and to find the middle way, right? But how to do that? This is what is taught by the Yogācāra, to find a kind of balanced way of thinking so that we don't fall into the extremes of these two, right? And in doing so, the meditation practice is the one that is introduced or being emphasized by Yogācāra. And in modern days, we can see that meditation has transformed into many ways. One of them is, I'm sure many of us have seen this, mindfulness in modern era, right? A very famous monk from Vietnam, who unfortunately who just passed away. He have written many books. Like the books are very easily accessible. It's about mindfulness, talk about peace, and it even teaches us how to wash a plate, how to do our dishes in a very mindful way. So we have come to a time that we no longer talk about meditation in a very kind of seclusive or exclusive way that is only be done in a temple environment. Mindfulness has become a trendy thing, especially in the Western world, that being mindful in doing many things that help us to deal with our daily life. Even though I look at mindfulness in modern era, like books, one of them is a very famous book by John Kabat-Zinn, who introduced meditation and mindfulness to the Western world. So these are some of the books that he has been writing about, and he was teaching how to use mindfulness especially in the medical field, to teach people how to face the anxiety, all kinds of pain caused by sickness. So, and also MBSR, for this is introduced by Kabat-Zinn, the mindfulness-based stress reduction, day stress reduction. So these are many courses that if you go through the 8-week courses, then you learn all most important applicable methods that we can use in daily life to help us become more attentive and become more mindful in daily life. All right, so this is a very brief introduction of what meditation and mindfulness has become so popular in today's society. All right, let's go over it very quickly to the course overview. So I know that we have 4 classes. Yeah, today is the first class. And in the first class, we're going to talk about what is Yogācāra and how is it connected to cognitive science. And second class, which is next week, next Thursday, you're gonna study a little bit about the 8 consciousness. Yeah, what is it, and what does that do? What does it tell us? And how does it teach us to become more selfless as a person? And in the third class, we're going to talk about the 3 natures and dependent reality. How are they related? And how do we use the 3 natures to understand the world more accurately? And finally, the last class is on the 100 Dharmas. We want to see if we can use the understanding of 100 Dharmas, that is the categories of everything in the universe, according to Yogācāra, and use it to train our mind, to find a way that we can use to train our mind. So the way I conduct the class is we have roughly 2 hours, I was told. So I will spend the first hour, roughly the first hour, a little bit more than the first hour, to talk a little bit on the theory part. I'm talking about the more solid part of the talk. And then I will probably spend the next 20 to 30 minutes to lead us to do some meditation practice, especially on mindfulness. I know many of us might have meditation practice before, whether you are the Theravada tradition or whether you are from Chan tradition, even Zen from Japan, even if you're from Tibetan tradition. It doesn't matter. What we are doing is a very fundamental meditation techniques that I find is very important. Like, I'm going to give you some ideas, or maybe give us some corrections of how to actually do meditation in everyday life. So that will be about 1 hour and 30 minutes. And for the last 30 minutes or so, we are open for questions. Okay, let's do it this way. Yeah. Actually, I like to be more interactive. Anytime when I'm speaking, or especially when I'm not speaking, you can raise your hand or just turn on your mic and can shout your question to me. I'm fine. Yeah, it's better to have more interactive, more interaction from you guys than me just doing like a sitcom here, doing one for myself, and I feel like I don't know how to continue. Okay, help me. Got any questions? So these are the very brief introduction to the courses. Okay, any question at the moment? Can you skip class? I don't know. Louis, can we skip class? Anyone dare to skip class?
With your permission.
I don't set rules for that. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to answer that question. Please, if you want to experience the full set of meditation and the theory, the introduction theory to understanding Yogācāra, please attend. Yeah, please come to the 4 classes. I'm sure you'll get something that you can use in everyday life. Okay. What is Yogācāra? That's a very first question. What is Yogācāra? First of all, the first word yoga and acāra, actually there are 2 words. Yeah. Yoga, in English, it means meditative analysis. So what is that? Actually, yoga, it is a Sanskrit word. It comes from a verb which is, I think, yog, right? Yog actually is something that is to connect. I think I can give you an image of what is a yog is. Like in the old time, in the ancient time, we don't have truck or lorry, right? We use a bull or a cow, and then we have a cart, right, to pull the cart. So the connection between the cart and the string from the bull, that's called a yoke. That means connection. So that is very important. And when it becomes yoga, it still carries the meaning of the yoke. That means connection. But connection to what? In today's understanding is to bring our mind or our heart back to our body, to our mind, to our thoughts, to our environment, to be together. So this is the very broad meaning of yoga. So yoga is not just stretching our arms and doing some unbelievable postures, right? There's a very small aspect of yoga practice. But because in Buddhism, yoga means more to the mind than to the body. That means that we train our mind to be connected to our body again, to be connected to our thoughts, to be connected to the environment. So that's why meditation is so important in Yogācāra practice. So it's called meditative analysis. It's not just connection. It's also about how we think about the connection. That's why it's called analysis. We have to analyze how are we connected to the environment. Are we kind enough? Are we being more productive, or are we destroying the environment? So these are things that all included in yoga. And acara just means, it's a noun, it just means practice. So Yogācāra means the practice of meditative analysis. In short, is the practice of meditation. Meditation is also in a broad sense, including yoga as a sport and yoga as meditation. So acara is a very interesting word. I'm sure many of us have heard about the word acharya, right? Asari. So acharya actually comes from the word achara, because achara means practice. So when you add acharya, you add the ya at the end, take away the a, add ya at the end, it becomes a teacher. The teacher who teaches us how to practice. So Sanskrit word is very interesting. It's because you can always trace back to a very simple form. And by doing so, we will become more clear about what is original meaning. Like Yogācāra, we call it yuqie, yujia. But what actually does that mean? So now we give us a very clear idea. Okay, so this is yoga and chara. All right, and then what is Yogācāra? Yogācāra is the teachings on karma. We can talk a little about in karma, or meditation, on cognition. Cognition is how we understand things, and path to liberation. All are included in the teachings of Yogācāra. Okay, karma, meditation, cognition process, and how to become liberated. And of course, now we talk about Yogācāra is a school, right? It's a philosophical school of meditative practices aimed at the attainment of liberation. Yeah, this is common sense. And the principal expounders, yeah, who are the very important teachers of Yogācāra since the very beginning. Nowadays, most scholars believe that Yogācāra was founded by Maitreyanatha, who, according to legend, might be a bodhisattva. Okay. Chinese is Pusa. Bodhisattva means that someone who is a sage, who has attained certain level of enlightenment, but not the perfect enlightenment like the Buddha, but who still have a little bit of superpower. Just put in, right? Very layman term, yeah? So Maitreyanatha, according to the studies by many scholars, he might be from that legendary figure, or he might be actual person who was a teacher. They're not sure. But anyway, he was very important, right? Most very important text was passed down by him. And then his student Asanga, yeah, and Asanga brother Vasubandhu, and these are all from India and all the way to Naga. Naga is Chenna, right? If you are studying Chinese Buddhism, you might have heard of him, the name Naga and Stiramati. Of course, when we come to the most important figure in Chinese Buddhism is Xuanzang, right? Xuanzang went to India, right? If you watch the movie 西游记, right? 西游记 is a fiction, but it's based on the real account of why and how Xuanzang went to India. He wanted to get the authoritative text of Yogācāra because he found that in the Tang Dynasty, the text he was reading and was studying, who passed down from his teacher, if he realized that they were not complete. So he decided and he made a wish. He wanted to get all the Yogācāra texts from India, and he did. So when he went back to China, to Chang'an, so he composed the Chongwei Shilun, right? Chongwei Shilun is become one of the most important Yogācāra texts in Chinese Buddhism. So he founded the fascination. Okay, so this is a very kind of a basic introduction to Yogācāra. All right, keep going. Okay, so and then Yogācāra, we talk about Vishnapti mantra, 唯识. We talk about Yuja, Siddhi, and then talk about 唯识. So what is 唯识? Actually, it comes from the term, the Sanskrit term, Vishnapti mantra, right? So basically, it means consciousness only. Yeah, nothing but the transformation of consciousness. Okay. At this moment, can you give me just 5 seconds to have a break? I need to do a very quick. Okay, I'm very sorry for the disruption. Okay, so let's do a little bit about Sanskrit terms now, okay? So Vishnapti, actually it comes from the verb which means to know. And then Vishnapti actually means to let us know. And matra means only, right? Means only. So the problem is, when we look at the Chinese word 唯识, right? We think the term 识 is something that related to one of our mind, the consciousness. So 唯识. So many people, when I was talking to other people, like many students ask me, so 唯识 means that there is a 识, there is a consciousness, is real. Other than that, everything is unreal. Is that correct understanding of Vishnapti mantra, the 唯识? No, actually it's not. So when people translate to mind only, it makes people misunderstand that Yogācāra is talking about the mind is true, and other than that, everything is false. But actually, this is not the case. If you look at a Sanskrit term in this time, Vishnapti is an action to let us know what we know, right? What is expressed to us, what's shown to us. So he say that actually Vishnapti mantra, 唯识, means that what we know about the world is what is projected to us. We have no control about. Everything comes from, okay, a very deep subconscious. We call alaya vijnana, that we're going to talk about in later class. So this is the true meaning of 唯识, of Vishnapti mantra. So why I'm going to mention it here is because even when I was first studying Yogācāra, I thought that, Yogācāra talks about the mind is real. But it's not. Even at the end, Yogācāra will tell you that even your mind is false, it doesn't exist. It's empty, it's sunya, it's sunyata, it's emptiness. So this is very important, right? Not to fall in a misunderstanding of Yogācāra. So that is because the problem of the translation in Chinese, right? The 识 actually can means understanding and also can means consciousness. So this is why I prefer to translate it as cognition only, right? Instead of mind only, I like to translate it as cognition only. Cognition means only knowing. Only knowing is real. Even your mind is not real itself. There's nothing like there's not an object called the mind which is real in the physical sense, right? Okay, so what is cognition only? Now, okay, it says that whatever we see or whatever we feel, whatever we know actually comes from our own interpretation. Right? I see a beautiful view. I feel, wow, it's so beautiful, it's so serene. And for some other people, you say, well, when it's too many mosquitoes. And for other people, it's just too hot. I'd rather stay indoor. So everyone look at the same thing, they have different interpretations. So that is what we call cognition only. All right, I love this poem. It's by Yogacara Min, right? I read to you. If the best I could. 结如在人境，而无车马喧。问君何能尔？心远地自偏。采菊东篱下，悠然见南山。山气日低驾，飞鸟相与怀。此中有真意，欲辨已忘也。Okay, what does that mean? Well, help yourself. I love this translation by Charles Miller. It's beautiful. He said, I built my hut amid the throng of men, but there's no din of carriages or horses. You ask me, how can this be? So when the hut is remote, the earth stands aloof, plucking chrysanthemums by the eastern hedge. I see afar the southern hills. The mountain air is fine at sunset. Flying birds return home in flocks. In this return lies real meaning. I want to explain it, but I lose the words. Why this is important is it talks about the kind of mindset. So when we are truly engaged with the nature, we see everything that happens in the nature has a meaning in it. It's not just a bird flying home, but it's like you become part of the nature and you can enjoy the environment so much that you have no words to describe what it's about. Yeah. This kind of mindset is actually, in a way, that it represents the Yogācāra thinking very well, that cognition only. Like I just said, everyone seeing the same scenery has a different interpretation and understanding. I remember in a sutra, there's a very good metaphor to talk about this. They say that when, let's say, I'm drinking a cup of tea, right? For me, this is a cup of very delicious tea. It's pu'er, right? It's a Seng pu'er from 1980. It's more than 40 years now, so it's very delicious. But for human being, the sutra said this is tea, right? But for people from the heaven, right, they see the same water. For them, it's like not just a water. It's more like you call it 琉璃. What is English is 琉璃? Glasses, very beautiful gems and glasses. But for the beings in the hungry ghost realm, they see water is like fire, right? They see the same water. What they can see is fire. They cannot drink it. The way they drink it, it burns their lung. So this metaphor is exactly what they explain in Yogācāra philosophy. There's no such thing as a water by itself, right? There's something there, but we're not sure what it is. Depends on who and what standpoint we're looking at it. Then everyone receive it in a very different way. So you ask me, so what is it to do with our daily life? Yeah, many things. How we see things, how we have our mindset, how we think what is right or wrong. As we said before, we always see things as either right or wrong, depending on our own way of thinking, our habits. I remember when I was in Japan. Yeah, I was a very good monk, right? I was in Japan. So there was one time I was in the bus, and the bus was filled with people. So I know that there are some seats, right? Actually reserved for elderly people or people who are in need. But at that time, everybody was sitting on the seat, right? And then there was an old guy who stepped in the bus, but nobody was moving. Not even a young guy sitting in a courtesy seat. He didn't move at all. But at that time, I was a little bit kind of like upset, right? I was like, how could this be? You know, this is not a civil society. This cannot be. So what I did was I stood up, right, and then I squeezed myself through the crowd, and then I moved, and then I stand in front of that of the elderly people of the elderly guy, and I say to him, "Come, take my seat." I show him. I even point where I was sitting, like quite far away, and then out. I mean, out of my surprise, he stared at me very angrily, and he didn't say a word. He just looked away as if I wasn't there. I was shocked. I was like, I wasn't the right thing. You know, I should be thanked instead of being like receiving this kind of negative feedback. I didn't understand. So at the end, I asked my Japanese friend, why was that? And then he told me that, oh, you don't know. In Japan, you don't give seats easily especially to elderly people. Why? Why? Think about it. Because of pride, right? Pride. For Japanese, the ability to move, the ability to be independent is very important. But my acts of actually going to them and giving away my seats to them is actually quite insulting to them. So that's why I'm saying that what I was thinking was the correct thing to do. It turned out to be something quite insulting to other people from other culture. So what is right and what is wrong? In this case, I mean, yeah, in many things in our daily life, we have all these experiences about what to do, when to do the right thing, and how to do it. So this is exactly what is taught by Yogacara. What is right, what is wrong is based on many circumstances, right? It's based on conditions, based on cause and effects, and there's no set rule of telling you what is right and what is wrong. All right, so that is cognition only. And of course, yeah, when we see someone that we don't like, right? I'm sorry, this is in Chinese. Oh, let's say we see our housemate, we've been living here for 2 years, like, oh, I hate this guy. Every day we go in the morning, I see the same guy. So yeah, I hate this one. So sorry, someone has a question? No? Okay. So it's just say that, yeah, this comic means that the idea of disliking somebody actually comes from our own thinking. It's something that we add on to what we see, right? Because we believe this person is not a good person. I don't like this person or the characteristics, whatever he did. So all this hatred and dislikeness is all coming from our own heart, right? So in Yogacara, we say that we only see the images in our minds. Yeah, we hate other people. It's because the hatred is in our mind. It's not out there. It's what's said by Yogacara, right? In 华严经 also say that 心如工画师，画种种五音，一切世界中无法而不造。For our Saka Sutra, it said the mind is like a skilled artist, right? Painting various forms of the five aggregates. The five aggregate is what makes us a human, right? We'll talk about it later, the five aggregates. So this is a human. So there's nothing that it does not create in all realms, in all worlds. That means that the mind creates everything. So this is why in Yogacara, we talk about cognition only. Okay, up to now, do you have any questions? I think we have questions in the chat box. Should we deal with them later? Or what do you think?
I think there's a couple of questions. Maybe you can take them at the end of the session.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's continue now. But if you get bored of listening to my voice, I mean, just stop me and read out a question, and I'll definitely cooperate with you. Okay. All right. But Yogacara, now we're talking about, wow, so great Yogacara. Wow, we should learn Yogacara, right? I hope now I convince you to learn Yogacara. But why is it so difficult, and why is it not widely known? Okay, tell me, any one of you who have first come to learn about Buddhism, when was that you heard about Yogacara or Wei Shi? Was it the first time, the second time, or never heard of it? At least for my case, I didn't know Yogacara. I didn't know what was it until I became a monk. Until I ordained and became a monk. It was something that I didn't hear very often. I was learning chant. I learned meditation. I learned how to chant the morning and evening sessions. I only get in touch with Yogacara when I was learning in Taiwan. I was going I was doing my master degree in Buddhism. Then only I started to learn about Yogacara. But so why is it not popular? Why is it difficult? All right, the first thing is, I think there are quite a few reasons. The first is it doesn't work. Okay, Yogacara is a very complex system of different viewpoints, of paths and categories. Right? That's why we have 100 dharmas. We talk about the system of the Alaya Vijnana. What is it? What is the Alaya Vijnana? What is feats? How we understand things, how we see things. So this is a very complex system. That's why it's not easy to grab, to understand. And the philosophical thinking of Yogacara has been absorbed into other school like Huayan, right? We just talked just now, and Chan school, the Chanzong, and Pure Land, the Jingtu Zong, right? In Huayan, like the phrase we just read, or Xin Ru Gong Hua Shi, right? Ru Gong Hua Shi. This is exactly the Yogacara thought that has become part of Huayan thinking. That's why Yogacara is everywhere. The mind only thought is in almost every school or sect, or I mean different sects in Buddhism that you can get in touch with. So I mean in Chinese Buddhism, yeah, it's everywhere. It's been absorbed. That's why you don't see a separate school of Yogacara. Yeah, but we have one, Faxiangzong, but that was I don't think we have it anymore in China, but in Japan, we still have a few temples that belong to the Faxiangzong, but it basically died out after Tang Dynasty, yeah, in China. Well, traditional manner of presentation, because I don't know, I've gone through a few lectures on Yogacara on a YouTube. I find that, yeah, it's not easy to catch, especially when you want to read the text one sentence at a time. The way of presenting Yogacara, I think sometimes when we follow the text too closely, it loses track with our everyday life. So that is a problem, right? How do we make Yogacara become more relevant to our life? That's my point. So most of the time, Yogacara is explained in difficult technical terminology, right? You can see that I've tried not to use any terms like Alaya Vijnana, but I still have to, because there's no other way of speaking it. But I try to be more, use less of technical terms so that we can understand on the basic level. All right, so this is what our aim is, to explain Yogacara in a very easy term and to able to apply in our daily life. Right. So look at this one. Now, this is one of the systems in Yogacara. It talks about Yuan Qi Tu is about conditions and how things arise. It talks about how all the cells and then forming organs, forming bones, and then becoming a self like us. Talk about and then material world, right? How to form the far end of the universe, and then the little atom, and then they form stars, and then they form galaxies, and then we have the Earth, and then we have what we have today. So this is what we call the dependent arising, another term again. It means that how things arise, that is explained very clearly in Yogacara. That's why the system is very complex. And of course, this is a very dense verses on Yogacara. It's got 八识规矩颂, right? It's very important text. But if you read them, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I can read all the words like 待之有父通情本随缘子我量为非 right? 八大变形别经会 I can pronounce every word, but what does that mean? Right? Usually we need to go through like many classes to understand this. That's why. No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say it's impossible to learn, but because of the barrier is too high, you need to really understand this text before we can understand Yogacara. Well, what can we do? Right? I hope we can find a way, a lecture like this, that we can explain Yogacara in a much simpler term and to use it in daily life. So I'll try my best. All right, let's continue. Okay, first about Yogacara, it reminds me about how to improve my memory and learning. Anyone remember how you ride a bicycle? Well, I don't think you do. I don't remember either, but I think I saw my nieces, my nephews, they're learning to ride bicycle. I think this is a very interesting way to watch. It's about keep practicing, keep falling, and then we're getting better and better after each failure. So it explains how our mind works in a simple exercise as learning to ride a bicycle, right? Remember, if each time you fall, you learn something, you become more experienced. So what is that experience? If you want to analyze it, what is experience? Is it a memory? So if it is a memory, where is memory stored? Is it in the brain or in the mind? So is mind different from the brain? Are they the same? Right? These are many questions. These are the questions that have been asked, not only by the Buddhists, by the Yogācārins. Even today in philosophy, psychology, physiology, we were asking the same questions. Is it the mind different from the brain, or the brain controls the mind, or the mind controls the brain? Which is the first? If you have memory, where is it stored? What is experience, right? So how is it stored? Like I said, after we fell from a bicycle, we learned that, we shouldn't hold the handle in this way. We should let it loose, right? Let it loose, not too tight. But this experience, where it is stored, which part of the brain? Is it between the cells, between the neurons, or is it in somewhere non-physical thing, means in the mind? How is it stored? And also another question is, how is it retrieved later? How we not forget what we have learned? And also, how do we learn? So the Yogacara, we are trying to answer all of these questions. Right? These are the questions that we don't know for sure, even in modern philosophers, even by modern philosophers, psychologists and biologists, many remain uncertain. But it was not the case especially during the 6th to 12th century in India, where the Yogacara, the school of Yogacara, we're trying to answer this question definitely, right? Where is it stored? How is it stored? What is experience? How we retrieve them? How do we learn? How do we improve? How do we get rid of our suffering? So at the end, lead us to enlightenment, like the Buddha. So these are the questions that has been answered by Yogacara. But I'm not saying that they give the definite answer. Like this answer sometimes can be can match like the latest scientific findings. Some are still beyond the scope, and some may not be understandable at this moment. So because the Yogacara try to understand it and explain it from spiritual point of view, right? The purpose is not to like do experiment on science. The purpose is to help us get rid of our problem. So the main goal of Yogacara is to solve Buddhist problems. So what kind of problem, if we ask ourselves, right? One of the big problems that we have in Buddhism is to try to define what is non-self, right? Wu, in Chinese, Wu. This is the core problem addressed in all Buddhist doctrines and practices. So in this Wu, right, it's a refutation of an eternal soul or self called Atman. Again, a Sanskrit word Atman. Why? It's because during the time in India, especially in 6th century, before BCE, right? 6th century BCE, at that time, in India, it's generally thought that every person possesses a soul called the Atman. So this Atman is a subject that brings us to reincarnation, that brings us to be reborn again and again, right? But for Indians at that time, the objective of practice, especially on practice meditation, is to dissolve the Atman into Brahman. Right? This is the Indian point of view. But the Buddha, he didn't think so. He said, no, there's no something called an eternal soul. That means that there's the Atman is unreal. The Atman is a false will. Right? So the Buddha has tried to refute it. And throughout like 1,000 years and more, all his students were trying to refute this way. So we have and then when we come to the time of Mahayana Buddhism in Yogacara, the Yogacara has do a very elegant categorization, right, of how the whole body is, how the mind works, how the physical body are formed, and how many different parts or different sections we have in a whole body that form a self. The purpose is to refute the Atman, the notion of a self. So we can see that Yogacara is not something that came from nowhere. The arising or the foundation of Yogacara is to answer some questions along for the past 1,000 years. I mean, that is to answer some question left behind that because in Buddhism, when in India, all religions, they're trying to challenge each other about their philosophical thoughts. You say, oh, I said the Atman is real. If you say it's not real, prove it to me. So the Yogacarin, the teacher of the Yogacara, they had to come up with explanation and to debate with them. So all this result of debate, and then it become the philosophical system that we have on Yogacara. So that's why we have a categorization of body and mind, which form the 100 dharmas that we're going to talk in our class today. It is a very detailed explanation of the whole body, the mind, how they interact and how they work. So this is the non-self, right? It's one of the problems that's trying to be solved by Yogacara. And so we're trying to solve the problem of impermanence and dependent arising. So what is impermanence? Impermanence actually is I can say it's a strategy the Buddhists use to refute the notion of self. Because in Hinduism, like in India, they say that the notion of self is something that is permanent. It doesn't change, right? A self, something that doesn't change, they go on after we die, the self just go back to wherever it belongs or it come back again. So the best strategy to refute the notion of self is to prove everything is impermanent. Everything appears, disappears, like that, right? So this is actually being proved by quantum physics nowadays. We all know that in quantum physics, we know that all matters is in a continual state of flux. It's energy, right? Energy becoming atom, and then atom material become energy again. Like the very famous Einstein's formula, E equal to mc squared. E is energy, M is material, right? So energy, material is changeable. So that means nothing is permanent, right? So this forms also a very evil weapon in today's, right? The atomic bomb. This is how it was formed, because a little bit of material can become such a huge energy that can destroy everything. All right, out of the talk. So this is about impermanence, right? So the Buddhists say that the soul is permanent and unchanging. That is why a soul doesn't exist, right? So this is the talk of impermanence. And then we talk about dependent arising. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit later. What is dependent arising? Because everything is impermanent and everything that comes into being is a combination of causes and conditions. All right. So every living beings, we have everything that live, like you and I, we are just a gathering of physical matter and sensory, perception, emotional, and psychic forces. No, nothing else, right? So the Yogācāra contribution, how to answer this? We say that the Yogācāra introduces the idea of seeds, right? We can talk about this later. What is a seed? It's a very beautiful metaphor in Yogācāra that explains why everything is impermanent and then how you and I appear in this world. It try to answer that question. Right? We'll see how in the later class. Okay, so this is the view of the dependent arising. Yeah, if you have time, you can go into Google and look it up, starting from ignorance, and then to mental formations, so the past causes, all the way to 12 links of dependent arising. Well, check it out if you have time. All right. So then we're trying to have right? See things as they truly are. Remember, like the Buddha said that, oh, everyone has delusions. We see things that's not they truly are. So the Yogācāra, or especially in generally Buddhism, in Buddhist, we try to practice to see how things truly are. And the right view is the first element in the Eightfold Path, right? So this is the view of the Eightfold Path. Well, the first one is the right insight, or we call the right view, right? The most important thing is to see things as they truly is. So the Yogācāra, the way the Yogācāra contribute to Buddhism is that instead of just in the part of right view, we have introduced the three natures to explain how the environment interact with each other, how we see the environment. And then we also have the 100 Dharma to explain everything that's in the universe. So this is the Yogācāra's point of view about the universe. And of course, karma, right? Karma, talk about karma and Buddhism, the universal law of cause and effect, as I say, the Einstein law of conservation energy. So we know that when we do good things, you get good result. If you do bad things, you do better. But it's kind of obvious, right? But it's also very problematic. It's because how do we explain the process, right? I'm sure we have seen from drama very often that the rich and bad people, they always stay rich and bad. Well, of course, at the end, right, they have bad consequences, but it's a drama, right? It's a movie. But in real life, right, we find that usually it's not the case. We don't see people behave badly. Usually they don't really get some kind of punishment, right, that they deserve immediately. So how do we explain this? And then the next question is, in Buddhism, we talk about no self, right? So if there's no self, how is karma being transmitted? When we say that if you do bad things now, your next life, you will become like poor, or you will be living in a condition that is definitely not comfortable at all. So if that is karma, right, we admit that is karma, but if there's no self, so how is karma being transmitted? Again, in the Abhidharma, so that is before the Yogācāra, right? Abhidharma means that how the students of the Buddha, right, after the Buddha passed away, they try to explain what the Buddha has taught. So they come up with the idea of six consciousness, right? They try to explain how the mind works. And then they say, oh, wait a minute, it's not just six consciousness, it has also something much more subtle. It's called the subconscious mind, right? So this is in Abhidharma. But what is the subconscious mind? They didn't talk too much about it. Right? There's a name remained there, something called the subconscious mind. So what the Yogācāra did was it went further. It took the idea of the subconscious mind from Abhidharma and it developed it into much more detail, and it came up with two more minds, they call manas and alaya. So this will be talked a little bit about in the next class. That's why the Yogācāra contribution in this is, when talk about karma, they try to answer how the karma being carried from this life to the next life and on and on and on. So these are the questions that you're trying to solve, right? What the karma, it means we are the maker of your life. So this is a very basic foundation of karma. All right, so what is the brain? Right? We come a little bit to the cognitive science. What is the brain? So, well, I did some research, actually, not research, I just read a book, right? These are some basic thoughts that I found. I just make a summary of it. What is the brain? Because we have to try to compare what the neuroscience today, what they found about the mind. You will be surprised that many of the findings, actually, they are correlated to Yogacara thinking. And we'll see why later. Okay, first of all, let's talk something about more physical, the mind. The brain, right? What is the brain? It's a 3-pound tofu-like tissue containing 1.1 trillion cells, including 100 billion neurons. Well, the number is too big, right? I have no idea what it is. So that means too many. 100 billion neurons, okay? And each neuron, okay, not one neuron, receive 5,000 connections from other neurons, all right? They connect to each other in 5,000, connections. So many. So a neuron fires 5 to 50 signals a second, keep firing. Imagine how many signals going through our mind, even at this moment. There'll be trillions of signals going through our mind while we are listening and staring at the screen, right? Our mind, our brain and mind never rest. So each signal is a bit of information. It regulates our stress response, the knowledge of how to ride a bike, and also it forms our personality, right? Who we are, how we react, how we speak, how we deal with people. So these are our characteristics that they form. They can trace back to the correlateness in the neurons in our brain. Well, this is from the perspective of neuroscience, right? Okay, so the conscious mental events are based on temporary coalitions of synapses that form and disperse, right? The coalitions, right? The connection, we talk about the 5,000 connections from this neuron to the neuron. They say that they form and disperse. This time, this second is formed, the next second, the link is broken. So I think this is very interesting. It tells us what? The idea of impermanence, right? We just talk about in Yogācāra, impermanence. Buddhists talk about permanent, nothing impermanent. So even in the brain science, we know that even the connection between each neuron is very fragile. It just stays there for a very short period of time. All right. But of course, some connection lasts longer, right? Especially if we keep learning. Remember, like at first, when we ride a bicycle, we don't know how to ride it, we keep falling. But if we keep doing it, that means the connection between the hand to the body, maybe to our feet, become better. So the connection becomes stronger. So that means this is why we means by practice makes perfect, right? And this is exactly what is meant by Yogācāra practice. We keep doing meditation every day, even 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day. Keep doing it. And then after a period of time, the connection of our brain that connects to calmness, happiness become stronger, right? So this is proven by neuroscience that how it's explained physically. Well, I think it does. Well, the brain interacts with the world, which is shaped by the mind. Right? The mind actually, shape the brain. Of course, the brain also shape the mind. So these are two-way things. So the mind and the brain system is inseparable. So what I want to say here is, in Yogācāra, we talk about the mind, not the brain, right? Because Yogācāra is not about the neuroscience. It's about the mind, about how we think. So, but the neuroscience only talk about the brain, right? Psychology talk about the mind, but the neuroscience talk about the brain. So it's more physical. Whatever they can measure a signal from a neuron. They can see a neuron under a microscope. So that is physical. But the mind is not. The mind is spiritual. The mind is not physical. So I believe that by combining or learning what Yogācāra say about the mind and what neuroscience say about the brain can help us have a better understanding of how to deal with our mind and ourselves. So this is the purpose of showing you this. All right. And at the last part that I want to talk a little bit about is what the Buddha thought. Actually, in the whole course of his teaching, some say 45 years, some say 49 years. It's fine. So it can categorize them into three parts. One is virtue, one is concentration, one is wisdom. So everything we talk about in Buddhism can be categorized in these three: jie, ding, hui. All right. So it's a very broad categorization that we have to remember. Whatever we learn, try to put it into each part. Okay, what is jie? In a general term, virtue is about how we regulate our actions, what we say, and how we think, right? What we do, what we say, and how we think. How we regulate these three things to create benefits for ourselves and for others. Others include the environment, the society, the whole world. So this is the point of virtue, right? This is taught by the Buddha. And about concentration is the skillful use of attention in daily practices, right? The use of attention. Nowadays, what we need is attention. Wisdom, understanding the causes of suffering and the path to liberation. So these are the three categories of the teachings taught by the Buddha. And by knowing this, when we start to learn Yogācāra, we can put them into categories. Because Yogācāra talked about how we regulate our actions, and then it also teaches how to have more, increase our attention, and also how to understand the causes of suffering and how to end them. So teaching Yogācāra includes all these three aspects of the Buddha's teaching. It's a complete set of teaching. All right, 1 hour has passed. Now we talk a little bit about introduction to mindfulness and meditation. All right, right now, I don't know, do we need to pause me? Go for a quick question. Anyone couldn't stand anymore and like to yell out the question? One, two, three. Okay. Give me one break. All right, as I said, despite the theories, actually, I want to emphasize on how we do the practice of mindfulness or meditation in these classes. All right. First of all, let me introduce you about mindfulness. What is mindfulness? We hear about it all the time, online, in Facebook, Instagram, in all the advertisements, right? All the MBSR, the mindfulness-based stress reduction courses. Wow, and then we can see them. People talk about the experiences. Wow, mindfulness is so wonderful. It gives a joy, release all my tensions. And it seems like something we're trendy to do in today's society, right? We need to pay a lot though. It's not cheap. If you want to go to a mindfulness classes, usually they cost you, I don't know how much. So, but what is this? What is mindfulness? Why is it so popular in today's society? So, of course, mindfulness is a meditation practice. Yes, simple, direct. And Actually, mindfulness, to the very basic level, is to be aware of our body, our feelings, our emotional state of mind. That means emotions, whether we are angry, we are sad, we feel bored, or we are upset, we're happy, and natural phenomena. Natural phenomena means that understanding what's happening around us. Why this happened and why not that, all the causes and effects. So these are the 4 categories of mindfulness that we're going to practice starting from today. Be aware of the body, be aware of our feelings, be aware of our emotions, and be aware of natural phenomena. Right? This is mindfulness. And also, a more important thing is mindfulness is to be aware of present moment and understanding reality as such. Right? Most of the time, we are not here. Right? Nowadays, now as I'm sitting here, I can see many of your faces. Right? Some of you have big round eyes staring at me, very interested. Some of you look a little bit blank. Your eyes are staring into the sky. I know you're deep in your thoughts about your work, maybe about relationship, or anything else, right? So are we here at the present moment, even just for a few seconds? It's hard, right? That's why we need mindfulness practice. Mindfulness means, come back here. Come back where you are. Know we are sitting, knowing we are staring, knowing that we are listening to a talk. Be here. By knowing that we are here, that is also a practice of mindfulness, right? Okay. I love this because it's a very simple way of telling us what mindfulness about in today's society. Is very interesting, right? Take a mindful brain break. And then what it means that, I don't know, take a walk when you are tired or something. Practice breathing. Yeah, we're going to do it. Check in with your emotions. Okay. Ask yourself, are you happy? Are you bored? Or nothing, or it's fine. Use senses to observe an object, right? Look at something interesting or not interesting. Take a mindful walk, recite positive affirmations, spend time writing in journal, and on and on. So that's why we have so many mindfulness courses out there for us to purchase, for us to take part. Either it's free or paid. Mindfulness is the thing that we're doing, and that's what we need. Mindfulness is actually attention. Yeah, that's what we need. All right, how mindfulness practice changes our brain. Okay, again, we come back to neuroscience. All right, of course, I copied from the book. It say that mindfulness increases the gray matter in the insular, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex. All right, check out from Google. If you don't know what is hippocampus or prefrontal cortex, well, do it now if you want to. I don't quite understand it, but I think it's important. Also, improve our psychological functions of brain regions associated with attention, right? Attention, it improves our attention and compassion, right? Empathy. It's interesting. Compassion is not something born. It's something that you can practice by being more mindful to ourselves, to people around us. We have the feeling of compassion toward others. Right? That's why you improve that. And it decreases stress-related cortisol. Right? It's a kind of hormone that increases stress in our body. But being mindful actually reduces the release of this hormone in our brain. And it strengthens the immune system, right? So common sense helps with insomnia. And I think insomnia means couldn't get to sleep at night, right? Anxiety, phobias, eating disorders, you name it. Mindfulness is wonderful. All right. So this is the brain, right? Reduce anxiety, reduce depression, increase tolerance, increase memory, increase awareness, goal setting. I hope the study from neuroscience give us more reason to practice mindfulness. All right. So being mindful, okay, come back again, simply means having good control over our attention. Attention, okay? Please pay attention to this word attention. Having good control over attention. Why? Because we can place our attention wherever we want and it stays there. So when we want to shift it to something else, we can. So having control means that if we want to pay attention to anything, we can. Or if we want to take our attention away, we can. We are in control. But nowadays, we are not in control. Isn't it true? Okay, try yourself. Tonight, before you go to bed, click on Instagram or I don't know, like whatever they are, 小红书, right? They are more popular nowadays. And look at video clips one at a time. I'm sure after you watch one, you watch a second, the third, and then before you know it, half an hour has gone, right? We don't have control over our attention anymore. We already give the control to the company that want our attention. So attention is money today. In short, attention is what all the companies want to buy from us. It's so important, right? Because if we lose the attention, if we lose control over attention, we will get stressed very easily, right? We will get depressed very easily too, because the value of attention is something that is getting less and less in everyday's life. Okay, why is attention so important? Because in Buddhism, this is the first step of the cognitive process in Buddhism, right? In Buddhism, we say that there are 5 pervasive mental factors. Okay, sorry again, the name maybe doesn't sound to you, but doesn't matter. Just bear with it, doesn't matter, right? Attention. First thing we do, right? If you want to learn anything, you have to purposely tell yourself, oh, I want to pay attention to this, right? That's the first step. And then only after we have the intention to pay attention, right? Then we have contact with the thing that, okay, now we are staying at the screen. Now you are listening to my voice. So that is called contact. Your eardrum is in contact with the vibration coming out from my mouth, hit your eardrum, and it transmits new signals to your neuron, and it processed by your brain, and you understand what I'm saying. So that is contact. Right? After contact, we have feeling. Right? If you hear my voice, you like my voice, you say, wow, that's calming. That's nice. I'm comfortable. But if you don't like my voice, you're like, how I wish I can finish as soon as possible. Right? Then the moment you're feeling, I don't know, you might have a really bad feeling about that because you cannot stand my voice anymore, right? And that feeling gives us conceptualization. What do you mean by conceptualization? It means that we remind us of our experience. Oh, yeah, I used to know this guy too, like this teacher in my high school. Wow, his voice is so annoying. The same thing that I'm experiencing now. You see, these are all kind of conceptualization. So you're projecting your negative experience with your previous teacher on my voice now. So that is conceptualization. That gives us an understanding. And volition. Volition means that after we have formed the concepts, we take the action. Take action. Oh, what should I do now? Reduce the volume, right? Or increase the volume. Or click on mute, turn off camera, and gone. Right? Go and get a glass of hot chocolate or roti canai and enjoy yourself. So that is volition. So this is the process of how we understand and how we get in touch with the external world, explained in the Yogācāra system, the 5 process. All right, I don't think I want to talk too much. Okay, now we talk about okay, this is just a very quick survey. Yeah, you know, like FOMO. Have you heard about FOMO? Fear of missing out. Yeah, we were talking about just now attention, right? Why do we don't have enough attention nowadays? It's one of the reasons. I think the most important reason is we have the fear of missing out, especially under the influence of social media, which keeps updating every second, right? So we have fear of missing out. Okay, now do a quick check, all right? Answer these questions. So as I have free time, I open social media platform, hoping to know what my friends are doing all the time, right? Anyone? All right, let's do this. Okay, now the first question. If you have this, type 1 in the chat box. I hope I won't drown out all the question, but just do it. Let's see how many of us. If we have this symptom, type 1. If you don't, just leave it. Let's see how many. Oh, nice. Well, I like you, CGG. Yeah, like 10 ones. Yeah, I think I'm not better than you. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Right. Okay, now stop that first one. I never miss friends gathering because I'm afraid of missing their inside jokes. Right, missing a gathering. Anyone had these symptoms? I don't want to miss any gatherings. If not, the next time when I go there, I don't know what they're talking about. It's bad. All right. Well, these are really less. 222. What's okay? Nice way. I see some people get to. I miss a lot of gatherings. Is it good or bad? I think for me, it's good. Yeah, don't go too many gatherings. Okay, the first one. Every night I check social media platforms in bed. Okay, the thing is, the keyword is in bed. Do you do that in bed? Oh, yeah, I do that. I do that. Okay, thanks for your frankness. I see somebody keep typing. Yeah, want to join gathering because trash at the time, not only you say jokes. Okay, that's a very good reason. I buy that. Okay, the next one. The first thing I do every morning is to check social media updates. First thing in the morning. Actually, I do. Yeah. All right, and the next, I feel that other has better experience than me. All right, hold on. And the last one, once away from social media, I fear becoming an outcast. Anyone has closed your Facebook account before or Instagram account? Yeah. Do you dare to close your Facebook account or Instagram account? Or maybe you want to come back some other time with different names, different identity? Yeah. So this is, yes, you're planning to do, okay? Pause for some time, for whatever reasons. So this is what making us becoming by having less and less control over attention, right? We are selling our attention to buy entertainment. So that is what we're trying to express here. All right, I hope we have a little bit understanding of what is FOMO about. All right. So as promised, maybe if you take the next 10 minutes, I'm going to lead very simple meditation that we're going to do. All right. Okay. Give me 1 second. I want to play music. Oh. Okay. You can take a short break now before I return. Drink some water. Can you hear the music? Is it too loud? Maybe this is better. Okay. So this is what I like to use. Are you still watching the big screen of the PowerPoint? All right. All right, so before we begin, I'd like you to adjust your sitting posture on the chair. I believe all of us are sitting on the chair, right? The first thing is choose a sitting posture that's more comfortable to you, like the one you see in a picture. You don't need to sit all the way back to the back seat. Sit halfway through, and have both your feet resting comfortably on the ground. Keep your waist straight, your chest slightly drawn in. Both your hands on your legs. Relax the shoulder. Your chin, pull back a little. Relax your tongue. If you want, you can close your eyes. Right. Now we can slightly lean our body forward a little and backward. We keep moving this way until we find the center spot of our body that gives us a balance. Once we found it, we stop and we move slightly to the left, to the right. We try to find the center point of our body that can maintain our position for a long time. Right. When we find the most balanced posture, we stop. Now we slowly take 3 breaths. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in again. Breath out. One more time. Breath in. Breath out. We try to feel and be aware of our body. We feel if our body is relaxed. Starting from the top of our head, our forehead, the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, face. Try to feel if they're all relaxed and comfortable. We put our attention to our neck, our shoulders, the arms, elbows, palms, fingers. Try to feel each part of the body is relaxed and comfortable. We don't need to force the body to get relaxed. By just paying attention to each part of it, it will relax by itself. Pay attention to our chest, our belly, how our belly arises and falls, following each breath that we inhale and exhale. Feel the sensations on the belly when it arises and falls. Our mind may wander away. We might think of many other things. It's okay. Every time we realize our mind is off, just come back to feel our body, to feel if it's relaxed. We pay attention to the muscles on our back, lower back, all the way to our thighs, shanks, feet, to the toes. The mind is where the body is. Just be with it. Now we gently put our attention to our breathing. When we breathe, we know clearly that we are inhaling and exhaling. You can put your attention at the tip of your nostril, or if you want to, you can focus on the movement of your belly when you breathe in, breathe out. Just knowing Do not change it. Do not do anything. Just know I'm breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. If you want, we can count our breathing. Every time we breathe out, we count 1, 2, all the way to 10. And then we reverse the counting all the way to 1. Every time we breathe out, 1, 2, 3, and so on. If we find ourselves falling asleep, it's okay. Just come back to our breathing again and again. Now we do 3 more deep breaths. Breath in, breathe out. Breath in, breathe out. One more time. Breath in, breathe out. Count to 3. 3, 2, 1. Take your time and slowly open your eyes. Slightly move your body forward, backward, sideways. Come back very gently. Yeah, some of us we start doing stretching now. Yeah, so this is the introduction to breathing meditation, starting from adjusting the posture when we're sitting on the chair, followed by how to find the center spot so that we can sit comfortably for a longer time. And then by doing the body scanning, we can very quickly relax our body, which we can get very good rest for just 10 minutes. But the most important part is the breathing meditation that train our attention to to focus on one thing at a time. I hope that helps. So just do a very quick survey. If you find the practice, you can follow the practice and you can feel you are relaxed, please type 1. If not, maybe you think the method is too quick, type 2. Then I will know what kind of problems that we are facing and we can discuss a little bit about it. Okay. Thanks for your responses. Many of us may have different experiences or we learn from different traditions, but I don't think it's a problem because basically breathing meditation is a foundation of all meditation practice and is directly related to mindfulness. Yeah, that's the quickest way of practicing mindfulness. And the relaxing of the body, actually, I learned that when I first started off learning Buddhism, I was under the Tibetan tradition, and I found it very useful for me. So I want to share with you all. Okay, thanks for your feedback. Now let's see. This is a homework for you all. First, for the next week, slow down, especially at meals. Yeah, don't read news. Don't sit in front of TV. Don't have your handphone in front of you. Turn it off. Just enjoy your meal. And second, talk less. Listen more. Yeah, and reduce multitasking. As we said, we are very efficient people nowadays, and that is a source. That is the cause of our stress. So try to reduce multitasking and do one thing at a time, right? And in the fourth one, focus our breath while doing mundane activities. Mundane means that like when you're washing dishes or walking to the place of work, or we are riding in an MRT, right? Take a few minutes, a few seconds, just to remind us, I'm breathing in. Oh, I'm still breathing. Breathing out. That's a wonderful experience to know that we are still breathing, right? And finally, most important, I'll try to do sitting meditation like what we just did, about 10 minutes a day. If you don't have time, even 5 minutes is not bad, right? Try to make it your daily practice for at least the next 7 days. And next week, when we come back, we'll go to another practice of meditation, which based on this as a foundation. So please, yeah, do your homework. All right. Do we go to questions? I think I don't know how much time we have, probably 10 minutes.
Yes, Venerable, we can do questions. We have total of 3 questions.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So the first question is, what's the difference between yoga and vipassana? They sound similar. Because you were saying yoga sounds like meditative analysis, and I think vipassana is somewhat similar.
Yeah, yoga is a more general term, it's an umbrella term. Right? Remember the definition of yoga we had in the beginning? Yoga, it means just any meditative analysis in meditation. That is called yoga. So vipassana is a form of yoga. Yeah, vipassana is one of many methods in meditation. So yoga is an umbrella term of doing meditation. I hope that answers your questions.
Okay. So the next question is regarding the alaya vijnana. So
Yeah.
the question is, the eighth consciousness, the alaya vijnana, the alaya is like a warehouse, me that stays with me throughout all my life. Maybe I've misunderstood, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does the alaya vijnana contradict with non-self since it's like a me? Another
Contradict with
student
non-self. Okay.
student commented that it's about 因果业力 karma.
Mm. Okay, I think I saw your questions. The consciousness is like a warehouse, a me that stays with me throughout all my life. Maybe I have misunderstood, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does anyone be? Wow, this is a very good question. You know, this question has been with many great teachers for the past few hundred years. Actually, you know, one of the reasons Yogācāra comes out with the Alaya Vijnana, is to try to answer the question of reincarnation, as you just said. If we say that when the Buddhists say there's no me, so how is reborn or reincarnation possible without a me? So the Alaya Vijnana is the answer to that. Alaya Vijnana is not a me, it's a storehouse with all we call the seeds with we have a wholesome seeds, unwholesome seeds, and the seeds that are neutral. So it's not an I in a sense that is contradicting the notion of many religions that say, oh, there's a soul, right? Like let's take for example, many religions say that there's a soul within us. A soul is something that's eternal. So the goal of having a religion, according to them, is to bring our soul closer to the creator, the God, right? Whatever they call, or the Brahman, or actually the Brahmin in Hinduism. So that is a soul. But Buddhism, we don't have a soul. So how do we go to the next life? So Alaya Vijnana is the answer to that. Yeah, many people also ask the same question. How is Alaya Vijnana different from a soul? In another way, is it not a soul? It's just a different name, right? Are you kidding me? You say there's no soul and then you give something that acts like a soul. Are they not the same? They're not the same. They're not the same. Actually, Vasubandhu, one of the very important founder of Yogacara, he gave analysis, very, very, very good, and like a interpretation of Alaya Vijnana. He said, you look at a stream of water, like a river, right? Like let's say a waterfall, water keep falling down. If you look from far, it looks like the continuing flowing of a water is a stream, right? But if you get closer, you will see that it's not something continuous. It forms by little droplets that flow so quickly as if it has become a stream. A stream is something like a physical thing, right? But we will never call a stream a physical thing because a stream is just water droplets. So the same thing applies to Alaya Vijnana. Alaya Vijnana is not constant. All the seeds appear and disappear very quickly, but it continues. Like the water that flows through the same spot. The moment this water droplet passes, the next one comes. So just come and go, as if it is the river is continuous, like there all the time, but it's not. It just keep arising, ceasing, dies out. So this seemingly continuity is the alaya vijnana. So that is different from a soul, which is the same, doesn't change all the time. Yeah, I tried to answer this the best I could by differentiating alaya vijnana and a soul. So this is the Yogacara answer to the no soul theory. Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question. This is a very big question that we have been facing for a long time. So Yogacara, nowadays there are still some scholars in the West who still think that Yogacara is nothing other than another name for the soul. So they have their interpretation, but we are not going to the detail into that. Yeah, it's a theory that I think is quite sensible for me. Okay, more question?
Yep. So, one of the students asked if it's possible for you to share the slides that you've prepared.
How do I share?
Maybe you can send it over to us, then we can share it with because we have a group chat, then we can send it to the chat.
Oh, okay. I will give you the maybe the PPT in the PDF form, smaller, then you can share with them. Sure,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you. Oh, we just have another question from CGG. Is this theory from the sutras or was it made up? So alaya vijnana is not like a reservoir, but rather a term to talk about how the karma is stored in a non-existent thing.
It's both a reservoir and a storage. They're the same thing. But rather a term to talk about how it's a reservoir. Okay, you're right. In a sutra, well, sutra means the word spoken by the Buddha, right? The Buddha never mentioned alaya vijnana. Okay, so it's a theory that later formed from the understanding of the teaching from the Buddha, because the Buddha only talked about the six consciousness, right? It didn't go to the last two consciousness. But this alaya vijnana thinking was an answer given to the rivals of Buddhism, of the Buddhists at that time in the 6th, 7th, I mean much earlier, the 3rd, 4th century. The alaya vijnana thinking started to appear to answer some criticism from other religions on Buddhism. So yeah, in a way that it was not spoken by the Buddha, but it was an extension from the teaching of the Buddha that alaya vijnana must exist for us to have reincarnation possible. More question?
Yep, we have another question from HL Yen. This person asked, does Yogacara posit that the mind does not truly exist? And how can we have cognition only when the mind does not truly exist? Thank you.
Okay, that is a hard question. Yeah, the mind does not exist in a way that it is not something physical and permanent, right? How would I frame it? The mind is, well, I will come into the stream, right? Can you say the stream exists or does it not exist? Right?
It
It's the same
exists.
question. Yeah, but does it exist? Does it exist in the way that we see it?
Perhaps not.
Maybe the term stream is itself a made-up word, right? What is a stream? A stream is not real. A stream is just a continuous flowing of droplets. The same thing. What is a mind? Right? A mind is nothing but a continuous flowing of thoughts. So in this sense, the mind is not real because what we have is just thoughts one at a time. So all the thoughts, when they are joining too quickly, it become a mind. So basically, the mind itself is not real. It's just like a stream. A stream is a concept. So the mind is also a concept. At the end, what we have is just a thought that comes and go, appear and disappear very quickly. So that is thoughts. Thoughts form minds. So in that sense, a mind is not real from Yogacara point of view. Well, I don't want to go to emptiness. Emptiness is too big of a topic and it can cause confusion. Is it preferable to practice mindfulness while seated? Can we do it while standing? Yeah, of course. You can do it laying down, you can do it while standing. I do it all the time. Standing meditation. If you want, I can show you a way of how to do standing meditation. It's very interesting. I mean, it's simple. I can show you next time. You can actually relax very well and still standing firmly in the train. Yeah, I do the practice sometime when I was in the MRT. Well, when I go to Singapore and Hong Kong, of course. Okay. Is that all?
I think that's all the questions for today. Maybe that will lead us in doing the dedication of merit.
Okay, good timing. Right, I will do the dedication of merit in quite a different way. I will show you a song written and sung by Venerable Shu. I'm sure many of you have heard of Venerable Shu. He is from Berkeley. So I think he goes to Singapore and also Hong Kong sometimes. He comes to Asia quite often. So he's one of my beloved teacher and good friend. So this is a song, dedication of merit. Now we can listen to it and sing together by joining your palms together.
May every living be our minds as one and radiant with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and